May I proceed?
Yes, please.
Good afternoon. Please introduce yourself to the members of the jury.
Good afternoon. My name is Reggie Rogers.
What do you do for a living?
I've been a scuba diver for 20 years. In the industry, it's fun to know people all around you. In this industry, we are all caring of each other's safety, and we give advice to each other about where is fun to dive and where is not safe to dive.
How'd you get into this industry?
It all started with this movie, Finding Nemo. It was the one thing that got me into marine animals. And since then, I talked to my dad to sign me up for a diving class. Ever since, I fell in love with diving. And after diving with a few friends in college, I decided that this is what I was going to do for my life, for doing a living. And so I became a part of the Neptune's underwater expeditions.
What's your role as part of Neptune underwater expeditions?
At Neptune's, I am the dive leader. I am in charge of keeping my customers safe.
Ma'am, why are you here testifying today?
2 years ago, on July 7th, in one of our wreck dives, one of our customers, Lee Allen, he died.
Were you with Lee Allen on that July 7th dive?
Yes, I was. I was the dive leader at that time. It haunts me every day.
Ma'am, before we get into that July 7th dive, I have a couple things I want to make clear for the members of the jury. On July 7th, when you dove into the water, were you drunk?
Ma'am, of course not. I've been a diver for 20 years. I know better than to drink and get drunk before a dive. Diving is serious business. I wouldn't put my customers' life in danger, not to mention my own.
So now that we've established that you wouldn't put both your customers and your life in danger, what I'm going to do now, ma'am, is I'm going to write something on a piece of paper, all right? Going to fold and force. Can you see what I wrote on this piece of paper?
I cannot.
Did I show you what I wrote on this piece of paper?
You didn't?
Did I tell you what I wrote on this piece of paper?
No.
So do you know what's on this piece of paper?
Of course not.
So before that dive on July 7th, did anyone tell you that Lee Allen didn't meet the qualifications to go on the dive?
No one ever told me about any of his inexperience. I did not know this.
All right, ma'am. Let's talk about what Lee Allen did know about that dive. Could you tell us how the dive on July 7th was supposed to start?
On July 7th, we're supposed to follow an orange rope all the way down to the upper deck of the Hepburn wreck. And when I say the upper level, that just means that there are multiple levels on that wreck. And the surface is the only part of the wreck that we're supposed to be exposed to.
How deep in the water is that upper deck?
It's 170 feet below the surface.
What you just told us about the upper deck and the 170 feet, did you tell Lee Allen that before the July 7th dive?
Yes, 100%, just like every other customer. We tell them the instructions. Only explore the upper deck and nothing else. In fact, I've said this to him twice, if not more.
What did Lee Allen say to you when you told him the first time that he was only allowed to swim to the upper deck?
When I told him this, he asked me, "Can I go down to the second level?" I said no, that is not allowed. Every part of our preparation was for a 170 feet dive. And if you go deeper than that, there will be uncertainties and risks.
Ma'am, how did Lee Allen respond when you told him for the second time that he was only allowed to swim to the upper deck?
The second time, he asked the same question. Can I go to the second level? Of course not. I got angry. I yelled at him. I said, no!
All right, ma'am. Now that we've established that you told him no twice, let's talk about whether he chose to dive too deep anyways. Could you tell us how that dive on July 7th started?
In the morning of July 7th at 10 a.m., we splashed into the water and we got ready to dive into the wreck. 6 minutes later, we were entering the wreck. And everything was going just as planned. We were going single file. Everybody was in place.
Did that dive keep going just as it was planned?
No, there was this current that ripped us all apart, and one of our members, Frankie, a very nice lady who loved pottery, she got tangled in some ropes and wires on the wall of the ship. I had to go and help her.
Ma'am, earlier you told us that you're partnering with Lee Allen at the time. If you were helping Frankie, what about Lee Allen?
You see, for Lee Allen, I communicated with him through our eye contact, and I wrote on my dive slate, "Go ahead," to follow the rest of the group outside of the wreck, and we would meet outside.
Did you meet with Lee Allen outside the wreck?
No, I couldn't find him outside of the wreck, and I knew something went wrong.
So what did you do?
I immediately went back into the wreck and I searched the entirety of the upper deck. I couldn't find Lee, and I was concerned about him. If he wasn't on the upper deck, then would he be on the second level where I told him not to go to?
Did you end up searching that second level?
Yes, I did, and I found him there, exactly where I told him twice, if not more, not to go to.
What did you do when you found Lee on the second deck, the place you told him not to go?
When I found him there, I tried to drag him all the way down the hallway, all the way out of the wreck as quickly as possible because he was staying in water for way too long, for way longer than expected and planned. He will run out of oxygen if he doesn't leave soon. But when I tried to get him out of the water and surface, I couldn't.
Why couldn't you?
He was running out of oxygen. He didn't have enough oxygen to surface and come with me. I tried to remedy the situation. I gave him my extra cylinder.
Did he accept the extra cylinder of oxygen you gave?
No. The currents were strong. I gave it to him. He was flailing. He knocked it out of my hands, and that was our only hope, and it was gone.
What happened after he knocked the oxygen cylinder out of your hands?
There's nothing else I could do. I know this is difficult for her, for his wife, but I had no other choice but to surface on my own. I had to end the rescue mission. I don't want this to happen. It's my job to protect every customer, and I try my best to do it, and I would sacrifice anything for them. I could give you my oxygen. You could surface on your own, but when the oxygen cylinder was gone, there is no other choice but to leave.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. Your Honor, I have nothing further at this time.
Thanks.
Cross-examination.
Yes, please.
Miss Rogers, you said that you were inspired to start diving because of Finding Nemo?
Yes, that's right.
In Finding Nemo, the sharks talk about rules, right?
That's right.
Rules like fish are friends, not food.
That's correct.
There are rules in your industry, isn't that true?
Yes, of course.
There are rules that your boss sets for Neptune underwater expeditions.
Yes.
One of those rules is called the buddy system.
That is a rule, yes.
And that rule, the buddy system, is something that you got in an argument about with your boss on July 7th. Am I right?
Now, first of all, Hathaway, I respect them, but he is my coworker, not exactly my boss. Anyways, we engage in discussions about these rules. In the diving industry, it's not as simple as, okay, people agree with a rule, and then that is the right thing to do. Just because people say it again and again doesn't make it true. And so this rule, I do not agree with it.
Anything else to add?
No.
So that was a yes to my question, that you got into a discussion with your boss about the buddy system. Yes or no?
Yes, sir, I was in a discussion.
And in that discussion with Hayden Hathaway, Your boss at the time said, we cannot pair Lee Allen with a dive master or dive leader. It is too dangerous. Is that what your boss said?
He did say this. He was concerned about the safety, but at this instance of pairing a dive master with being in two roles at once, this has happened before and nothing went wrong.
Miss Rogers, I am not asking you to justify whether this has happened before to explain why a person died on July 7th. My question is simple. Your boss expressed concerns about safety, and he did, didn't he?
That's correct.
And you convinced your boss that that rule shouldn't apply to you and Lee Allen, right?
Yes, that is what I said.
Let's see why that rule matters. As we established, you don't know what's on this piece of paper, do you?
I do not.
But I want you to now look very closely at this piece of paper. Are you doing that?
Yes,
Focus on me and me only.
for sure.
Absolute dedication, okay?
Absolutely.
What facial expression, without turning around, is Andy Allen making right now?
Neutral. But I do not know. I am simply guessing.
Exactly, ma'am. The reason that you are guessing is because you're focused on me, not her, right?
That's correct.
Just like on July 7th, you were focused on Frankie Fernandez, not Lee Allen. Am I right?
I had to do this. That's correct.
I didn't ask you to justify it and say that you had to do this. You're agreeing with my question, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Before you came into court today, you actually made an affidavit, didn't you?
That's correct.
You swore to include everything relevant and pertinent, right?
Yes,
Under penalty of perjury.
that's correct.
Same penalty you're under today.
Excuse me, could you say that again?
Is penalty of perjury the same penalty you understand that you are under today?
Yes.
So I'm going to ask this once. The morning of July 7th, did you consume alcohol?
Yes, I did drink, but that is different from being drunk.
That's a yes, you did consume alcohol.
Yes, sir. A few sips, but I was not drunk.
I'm now approaching opposing counsel with a copy of this witness's statement. Now approaching the witness with the same. Ma'am, I'm handing you your statement.
Yes.
Please confirm that the whole thing is there.
This is my affidavit.
Signature on the back.
That's correct.
Hasn't been changed or altered in any way.
It appears it has not.
Nowhere in the statement where you swore to tell the whole truth do you mention you had a single sip of alcohol on July 7th. Yes or no?
I did not.
May I approach?
Yes.
Retrieving this witness's statement. I want to talk about your policy regarding a single sip of alcohol. Your Honor, may I approach opposing counsel and the witness with Exhibit 2? It's already in evidence.
Yes.
Approaching the witness. I'm handing you your brochure. You recognize it?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead and flip to the Policies and Procedures page, if you wouldn't mind.
I've reached there.
There's a comment about having a single sip of alcohol, isn't there?
Yes, I see it.
And that policy says, your first sip of alcohol is your last sip of the day, but there's an exception for Reggie Rogers. That's exactly what it says, doesn't it?
It does not say this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, it actually says, your first sip of alcohol is your last sip of the day, no exceptions. Yes or no?
Yes, that's correct.
Nothing further.
Thanks.
Approaching.
Yes. Redirect,
Yes, Your Honor.
please.
Miss Rogers, why did you take those sips of alcohol on the morning of July 7th?
You see, I'm not a party animal, but when the occasion makes you drink, then you would drink a little. But it's not my habit to get drunk.
Were you the only one drinking at the time?
No, I was not.
Did you drink more than the few sips you talked about?
I did not.
And on July 7th, were you feeling the effects of intoxication when you went down on that dive?
No, I woke up the same day. I was on time for work. I was walking normally. Everything was right. During the rescue, I was following all the procedures I would do in an emergency.
Thank you, Miss Rogers. Your Honor, I have nothing further.
Recross?
I'm done with Reggie Rogers.
Your Honor, permission